So, very, very generous of you to have me in. I've been interested in Norway since I was a child. My dad grew up in Ireland, and he would speak of the people from the north who would come over occasionally and become part of the culture and then leave and come back. Very interesting stuff. And I thought it was a place I'd always want to see. And so much of my adult life, been interested in coming over. And in the mid-1990s, as part of the Center for the Treatment and Study of Anxiety, I met Patrick Vogel and colleagues. Robert Valderhaug came over, Kitty Dahl came over, began to establish some collaborations in Norway, and had my first opportunity to come here in 2004. So all of us who do cognitive behavior therapy, we fundamentally believe in the importance of learning theory. So to raise some things I've learned in Norway and from my colleagues in Norway. Number one, and as learning theorists, when things go terribly badly, you need to understand why that happened and then fix it. And when things go well, you need to do more of that. One of the first things I learned early on, my first trip in 2004 to Oslo, is signs are written in Norwegian. I was encouraged to go out and take a walk outside the hotel. That seemed easy enough. So Tord Iverson pointed me towards the fjords and said, have fun. I left. I walked. I saw that all the signs were in Norwegian. I didn't see a lot of people on the road. So I kept going. I did the best I could to interpret it. 6 hours later, I returned to the hotel. One of my colleagues saw me, drenched in sweat. The sun was setting. I had no idea what was happening for much of that time. And says, how was your walk? I said, very good in some ways and very bad in others. So, as a learning theorist, I learned. So I've taken walks every day this week. I walk with a map. And when I walk to the concierge, I say, can you translate this for me, please? Just so I understand. So, I've learned. I learned something else. Same trip, same walk, actually. It's something I should have known from Ireland. Stinging nettles. You have stinging nettles here. Well, as part of my confusion, I walked through a field about waist deep in a pair of shorts. Came to the end of the field and thought, there must be a lot of mosquitoes in Norway, because I'm itchy. I don't know if you have mosquitoes, but I know now you have stinging nettles. So I learned. So this time I'm out walking. I see a field full of stinging nettles. I don't walk through them. I learned. Number 3. From my visit in 2010, in the winter, December. Norway is cold. I love the cold. I went to school, undergraduate, in Buffalo, New York. I'm used to the cold. I figured all right, it's cold. What's the big deal? So I took a plane from Bergen to Oslo, took the train from the airport out to the city. And it was so cold, I actually had to go to a sporting goods store. I was shaking. I had very thin gloves on. I walk into a sporting goods store, shaking like this, saying, is there anything you can do for me? And the gentleman at the counter said, It depends on what is wrong. Which is a wonderful answer. I said, I've been at the train station for an hour and a half, and I don't have adequate gloves. He brought me some adequate gloves. I still have them. I also learned something else at the train station, which is I learned the word canceled in Norwegian in reference to my train, which is why I was at the train station for an hour and a half. Won't make that mistake again. So learning. Make mistakes, learn. Build upon knowledge base and move from what you know to what you still need to know. These lessons I've learned. Here's what else I've learned. Part of my collaboration here has been on the Nordlots study. Multi-site effectiveness trial. Very large, 250 plus patients, I believe. In my view, knowing what I know about the literature in OCD, probably the most important effectiveness study ever attempted, and going to be absolutely groundbreaking in terms of improving our understanding, not only of how treatment works under ideal conditions in the context of efficacy trials, but how it works in real life settings. Effectiveness. Because my guess is, after doing 20 years of clinical trials in academic medical settings, we can make an educated guess about efficacy. We know at this point. I know this treatment's going to work. How well can it be extended? How far can we take it? And Robert Walderhaag's trial set the stage for this, an effectiveness study looking at the use of CBT, John Passantini's manual, a supervision of supervisors model. That was the first step. Small trial, set the stage for what's happening now. And what's happening now is just groundbreaking. Those of us who are interested in CBT are waiting for the results. Those of us who are interested in OCD, also waiting for the results. It's a model. It's the beginning of a model. How do you do this? How do you get this out there? Does it hold up? Because it'd be interesting to know, wouldn't it? If I've got a treatment that can only be done in an expert center and can't be done in a remote center, can't be done in a clinical setting, I need to know. Is it like complicated eye surgery, or is it something that can be done in clinical settings? Because if it's like complicated eye surgery, then I don't want it to be done remotely if it doesn't work. So let's find out. And I think Nordlots has set the stage for what's bringing me here today. The National Implementation Study is a model for other disorders and other countries. A model. We identify people who have OCD. We get them to the places that service OCD, that can do cognitive behavioral therapy and do it well. We want to provide the treatment to people who need it, to kids who need it. And that's a tremendous service. If you're a parent of one of these kids, we see it in the States all the time. Parents who've gone to 5 providers. Parents who've had their kid on 3 different medicines, 2 at one time. We don't have to do that if the treatment's available. So we have a treatment, we know it's efficacious. I believe we know it's effective now as well. We can learn some more about that as more papers come out. But now, we're building a model in OCD, but it extends beyond OCD. Any disorder in which you've got an effective treatment now becomes an opportunity to do something like this. We have people who suffer, and reducing suffering should be an important goal of any psychologist. It's also a priority for government, I believe, because suffering costs money. I mean, reducing suffering in and of itself is important. That's the reason I do what I do. It costs money for people to suffer and not be treated. It's associated with dysfunction. It's associated with disability. It's a treatable condition. So if I can treat it relatively short term, I can reduce dysfunction. I can reduce disability. I can improve families' lives. And I can reduce cost, as opposed to waiting or having people flounder through 5 treatments. Seen it. We want to do this as soon as we can. If we identify adults, fabulous. A lot of people who have OCD as adults didn't know they had it as kids. They didn't know what to call it. So we get the information out there into the public, people come to recognize, hey, wait a minute, that sounds like something I'm struggling with, or something my family member's struggling with. Now we have places to refer, and they're part of a study, so they're getting treatment, but they're also part of the process of us understanding better. So that's a really important model for other disorders, because we have some disorders where we're not having success treating. We have a lot of disorders, mental health disorders. We know what to do. Do we know what to do with specific phobia? Anybody? What do we do about specific phobias? Exposure, right? We may have many other disorders in which we look at the literature, the efficacy literature, the effectiveness literature. Here's something we have to get out there. We have to make this more readily available. In OCD, we're already there. And thanks to the National Implementation Study, we have a model for how to do this in other disorders. The world stage, I think, too. I must say, I'm jealous. You're so painfully far ahead of us in the States. We have treatments in the States, too. They're the same treatments. We translate them from different country to country, but the principles are the same. They work. They're effective for OCD. And now, it seems sort of obvious. We should identify people who are struggling and suffering with these conditions, kids and adults. We should force or vigorously encourage, call it what you will, the referral source to send them to the right place. And when they get to the right place, those people should be trained and provided with consultation, assistance, supervision, so they can optimally deliver the treatment. And we should be able to follow people going forward to make sure that they're getting what we expect they should be getting. Seems obvious. In the States, it's not obvious. We have not had the courage, I believe it's courage, or vision, maybe both. The courage and vision to do something like this in the States, just not there. It's not there for mental health, we know that. Maybe there for other disorders, other diseases, call them what you will. But here, the National Implementation Study is a model for other disorders and other countries. I'm enormously proud and humbled to be part of this work. And I want to thank everybody for having me in, for listening to me talk for 3 days, for those of you who had to suffer through that. And I will say this, which is, since 2004, I've been coming to Norway every 3 years. And my hope is we can shorten the timelines. I'm really enjoying myself, and thank you so much for your generosity and graciousness.